I'm Veronique.
And I'm Sylvia.
Welcome to the High Vibes and the Mind podcast,
where multicultural moms connect.
Hi everyone, today we have a guest. Her name is Susan Watson. She became aware of manifestation and the reality of her reality. She created it when she read The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. She realized this was the other way to live. She went on to invest in herself to get that heaven on earth way of living. Let's hear it from Susan.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the show High Vibes and the Mic with Veronique and Sylvia. Hello Sylvia.
Hi Veronique. Hi everyone.
So my first question for you, Susan, I read on one of your posts on Facebook that you're a master of manifesting. Okay, You're going to talk to us about that because here on High Vibes and the Mic, we love manifestation, anything to do with this, and visual board and meditation, anything, manifesting, that's our thing. So really we love that topic. So something that really intrigued me with you is that you stated you used to manifest the wrong way, and now you better at it. So can you explain to us what did you mean by that?
Absolutely. So I think when it comes to manifesting, and you'll be aware of this, but we're always manifesting. We're always, and I think I call that unconscious manifesting. When you're manifesting your life, but you're not aware that you are manifesting it. You're just thinking that life is happening to you. And then I came across manifesting many years ago when I read The Secret. So many people started becoming more alert and more aware of the manifesting world with The Secret. And that was when I started becoming a conscious manifester and started becoming more aware of what power we have inside and how we can start to create our world. And I love I loved and still do love everything manifesting, but one of the key things is I didn't embody manifesting. So I don't necessarily do this now, but I didn't. Whilst I agreed with it and I knew I understood logically manifesting, I didn't embody it. So I was still very, very, very skilled at creating things that I didn't want.
So what do you mean by you didn't embody it? You mean that you didn't know how to do it, or you didn't really believe that this was going to happen?
I believed it. It, but I didn't fully know it. I didn't put it. I didn't make it part of me. I didn't be. I understood it. I didn't practice it, if you like.
Mm-hmm.
So whilst I had a wealth of knowledge, more knowledge than I had before, I wasn't necessarily using it to create what I wanted. I was using it unconsciously to create what I didn't want. So I just became extremely skilled at creating things that I didn't want.
Do you have like an example, for instance, where you make
My marriage ended very suddenly.
Okay.
And I certainly didn't want that. That certainly wasn't something that I would have consciously manifested. And then from there, things just went quite downhill, to be honest with you. My mental health suffered, my physical health suffered, my businesses, I had a number of businesses at the time, and they all plummeted, really. So instead of using manifestation to create something that I did want, it just went downhill quite dramatically.
Just one question. So how did you you think you manifested those things? How did you manifest the bad things? Were you constantly thinking about like, oh, this bad thing is going to happen? Or like, were you very fearful? What do you think, like looking back, what you were doing to make those things?
I was definitely living in fear, but I believe that the majority of the population live in fear. That's how we've all been raised.
Yeah.
We've all been brought up or raised. Yeah. So, and then because of old patterns, limiting beliefs about me and about society, and just limiting beliefs in general, that led me to unconsciously think that my marriage wouldn't work, because I had a belief that men leave because my dad left,
Oh.
my brother left,
Okay.
and like even previous partners had left. So I had this belief that men just say, do you know what? I've had enough of this marriage nonsense. I'm off. And so because I was unconsciously believing that, it was all happening at an unconscious level. And that's exactly what did happen. Had I been aware, had I been utilizing, had I been embodying what I was learning about manifestation, I would have spotted those limiting beliefs. I would have been very aware of those limiting beliefs, and then I would have been able to turn them round.
Do you think that maybe you were not skilled enough at that time? Maybe you didn't know enough about manifestation,
Probably
and you were
not.
not. Yeah, you were not ready yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that is a very good point. And I think with manifestation, there's people who can manifest things extremely quickly, and there's people that like who understand it very quickly. And then there's people who don't. We all learn differently. We all intake information differently. And I believe sometimes that there's a misconception about the manifestation world, that we just need to write it down on our journals, that's what we're going to have. We're going to have this beautiful vision board, and we're just going to act like we have it already, like it's already ours, that we can have, tomorrow morning I'm going to wake up and there's going to be all this money in my bank, and I'm going to have the love of my life. And I believe that for the smaller things that we want to manifest, like the free cup of coffee and the car park space and the supermarket that everybody refers to, that is the case. You can do that. You can learn to do that very quickly. Or not even learn to do that, but you can bring in the experience of that in very quickly. But it's when we start to want the bigger things, when it comes to money, for example, when it comes to manifesting your business results, when it comes to things that are more meaningful to us, then that's where we have to delve a little bit deeper into our psyche, to understand that a bit more. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, I think because also it's more important to us, so the subconscious also can also be a bit. You might be also have fear, not to get it, because getting a free parking or a cup of coffee, it's okay if I don't get it. That's fine. It's not a big deal. But getting the love of my life, or my big house, or my good job, that's really important. And when you let fear guide you, you won't get it.
A lot of people, when we want these things, when we want the money, the love of our life, we're often want it because we're in a period of contrast. So we're in a period of, I have no money, or I've got no money and I really need money and I've got bills to pay. So I'm going to manifest money, but actually you've got all this other nonsense going on about your money story that will stop you from understanding it. I also have gone quite heavily down the spiritual, universal, universe understanding. So I increase my knowledge about universal law. I increase my knowledge about the ego, and how the ego works in all of this, and also very, very heavily involved and researching and increasing my knowledge around spirituality. And I think and that itself has just been phenomenal. I love all that.
So now that you master all those skills, you offer some. You're trying to help people.
Absolutely.
And you talk about that program. I mean, that exercise that you have is called the Breathwork. Can you explain to us what it is?
Breathwork changed my life. It was, so I'd heard of breathwork, and I practiced yoga for a number of years, so was aware how impactful the breath was. But when I was in that situation where my husband had left, it was very suddenly, like we were in the kitchen having coffee, and he just said, right, that I'm away now, I'm leaving. And I was like, yeah, okay, thinking, you're going to your mum's. And I kept saying, where are you going? And he's like, oh, I'm leaving. And I said, but where? Are you going to mum's? Are you going to the gym? Are you going for coffee? No, I'm leaving. And I said, yes, I hear you, but where are you going? And he's like, no, I'm off. I'm away. And I was like, and basically that was the end of my marriage. So that was really sudden, and left me quite traumatized. And I was diagnosed with PTSD. And I was searching for something to help me feel. I hadn't felt this feeling ever before. Like I didn't know how I was going to get through it. And I was distraught, absolutely distraught. And I went for counselling. I thought I'll get some counselling. That's what I need. I need some counselling. And I had 3 sessions, and I was like, there's no way, I'm not doing this. This is not for me. Didn't enjoy it one bit, didn't get anything from it. And there was just one random day, as it normally happens, I'm scrolling through Facebook, and I see this free session for it said breathwork. And I thought, yep, I'll do that. That sounds good. And I read a little bit about the instructor, and I thought, he seemed really knowledgeable. And what I didn't know was it was holotropic breath work. So I thought I was going to, just sit and chill for an hour or so and do some nice breathing, and it would calm everything down. And that isn't what I got. Like, I didn't get that at all. And then I later discovered that what I had done was called holotropic breath work. And then after that experience, when I came round from that breathwork session, I was just like, what the heck have I just done? What was that? So then I reached out to Brian. I was like, I would love to learn how to do this, because the benefits of this are huge. And then he was like, absolutely. So I trained with Brian to become a holotropic breathwork instructor. And what holotropic does is it takes you to a non-ordinary state of consciousness. So it basically shuts down the ego, but it means that you're still very aware. And then we can go into the subconscious mind to see what is in there that needs to be healed. So people can have a very spiritual experience where they're back in their spiritual body or their spiritual being. And I've had people have some beautiful experiences where they're playing with the light and playing with energy and what have you. And I've had people who have gone through a holotropic breathwork journey with me and released quite a lot of trauma from the past. I think we all have some form of trauma, but trauma comes in many shapes and sizes. And even as a child, maybe being called a name when you've been in the playground, or not being picked to be part of a team when you were at school, can have significant trauma. And it might not affect you as much as me. So I think we all have some form of trauma that is affecting our current life. And the gentleman who brought back this form of breathing is called Dr. Stanislav Grof, and he was a psychiatrist, and he used this to help his psychiatric patients that he was treating. So he used this form of breath work to take them into their subconscious mind, so that they could deal with past traumas. And Dr. Grof had absolutely phenomenal results with this breath work. So I'm very honoured that I get to share this with people. And every time that I do that in live sessions, and I also do it online. And every time people come out the other end of the journey that we're doing, and you could see their face, they're just like, what did you just do to me? And I love just saying, I done nothing. It was your breath. All you done was use your breath. So for something that's so simple, the effects of that are phenomenal.
Can you explain the process for this the method? You don't need to lie down, I would imagine, right? If you're doing it online, is it similar to hypnotherapy or no?
I am a clinical hypnotherapist as well, and I think the breath work that I do is far more. You get into a much deeper state of trance with the breath work than any clinical hypnotherapy that I can do. Yes, I could get you there with clinical hypnotherapy, but it's different. It's just a different state of trance, much different. And because the person you're doing it with your own breath, so I'm not having to manipulate your mind by getting you into a state of hypnosis. You're doing it your breath, and because of the oxygen levels in your body, is doing it all for you. And I think because of that, and you feel the breather feels in control, they can't resist. They can't resist their breath, where they can resist me putting them into a state of hypnosis.
So you get out of the body. So is that what you think happens? You just leave the body during that experience?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, some people do. Definitely that you leave the body. I think what's important to know is that the thinking mind, the logical mind that's always there running the show, that's talking to us all day, every day, that shuts down. So I often refer to it as when you go to sleep and your subconscious mind doesn't sleep. But you're not aware of that because your logical, awake mind, human mind, is asleep. This is almost like sleeping, but you're aware of the dreams that you can have and the experiences and the memories, etc. So that's that. It's almost like that. That's how I tend to portray it when I'm taking a session.
How interesting.
When you mentioned earlier that you could see the trauma or you can, heal your trauma, it made me think of like if you're reading yourself, because Sylvia is a psychic and she does readings. And it made me think about like a reading, if she was doing a reading on someone, or because I receive readings and it felt a bit familiar. So I don't know if it's a bit of hypnotism, readings and breathing.
Yeah, I've never like I'm not sure. I've never come across like anything to do with like that like it's not psychic as such.
Okay.
Is that what you're asking?
No, I was just saying that it reminds me a little bit that little part when you said, about healing. You could see that you have a trauma when on yourself.
Yeah.
It made me think about when someone, is doing a reading and they can see that, okay, there was trauma there and let me clear it for you.
Yeah.
You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? It felt a bit familiar.
I think because the thing is, as well as I'm not actually like hypnotherapy is when you hypnotize somebody and then you deliver therapy. So there's many different ways that I can use therapy on somebody. With breath work, it's all down to the individual. So I don't whilst you will listen to music's very important when you're doing holotropic breath work. And I talk through it to get you into that state, to get you into, and even when you're in that state, you can still hear me, but the mind does it all for us. So I don't need to deliver any therapy. The mind will do it. The breather will do it themselves. Their mind, we're just allowing their own mind to deliver and it'll bring up what needs to be healed. And a few people have said, but I don't want to relive some of my trauma. I don't want to relive it. And the difference is we're not reliving it, but you will witness it, because most of the time when we have trauma, we've got trapped emotions, and that is what we need to release. That is what is causing us harm. So whilst I had a lady, and she was in quite a bit distress during the breath work, and I just left her because she needed to get that out because it was trapped inside of her. but I was extremely keen to know what the heck had happened to her and what did she see? What was going on? So after the session, I was like, how are you, first of all? And she was like, I'm okay, I'm fine. And I was just like, right, okay. So tell us what happened. So basically what she experienced was she was very aware that she had a very traumatic birth. And from her mum had said, it was extremely traumatic. But the breather actually experienced looking at herself as a baby coming down the birth canal. And she was she was breech. And when she said she could hear all the doctors and all the nurses, getting a bit agitated, getting a bit anxious about things, she could feel her mum's heartbeat getting faster and faster. And she was starting, as the baby, her as a baby was starting to get quite distressed. And then she was born, and it was okay, but she just, the relief was all the anxiety that she had picked up in that period of time. So Dr. Groff, he firmly believes that the moment of conception is when we can store trauma. So we can have trauma when we're in the womb. But not many psychiatrists agree with that. Many other psychiatrists would believe that trauma comes from the minute you're born. But what I witnessed that night with that girl, with coming down the birth canal, I seen it with my own eyes, and I heard it. And I thought she wouldn't remember that. So yeah, that's probably one of the most memorable. That's the word I'm looking for. That was one of the most memorable experiences that I've had taking people through holotropic breathwork. It's so powerful and so healing.
That's unbelievable.
It really is, Veronica. It really is. Yeah. It was something else.
Wow.
And can they heal even past lives, now that we're going, since before being born? Your story just mentioned, like, right before being born, but still in the physical body. Can these people, the breathers, also heal past life trauma and events?
It's not anything that I have come across. So, like, I have a lot of books on holotropic breathwork, and I haven't experienced that. But it's not to say that it can't, because we can do that with hypnotherapy. We can go into past lives and we can heal. So, it may very well be able to be done, because it's the same part of the mind that we're going into. But I've never come across any studies around that.
Can you tell us a little bit about your program called Abandon? Because I assume when I saw that name, it's something related to, like, let go. That's the impression that I had of old patterns and old.
You're bang on, Sylvia. And I think where that came from was when I started my journey with manifesting, I didn't really know what the ego was. I didn't understand consciousness very much. And then when I started studying that, and I've worked with an amazing coach who has taken me through a spiritual awakening, and I've I continually rise in consciousness. So, but what I needed to do was to abandon who I thought I was. I needed to abandon the human part of Susan, and start to learn and operate from a higher source, from a higher state of consciousness. And I had to let go. So I'm a big reader, love to read. And one of the books that I read is The Power of Awareness by Neville Goddard. And when I first read this book, there's a part in it where Neville will say, you must, your current self, this isn't the exact words, but your current self, you must let your current self completely die. It must die. And I always remember thinking, God, that's quite harsh, that my current self has to die. And I was like, okay. And now I understood it at a surface level, I need to let my current thought patterns go, my limiting beliefs. But I understand it so differently now, that we really must let go of who we think we are. We're spiritual beings, and we're in a human body with an intellectual mind. So for me, it's about letting go of the human side and not living from the human side, not living from the ego, and abandoning that so that we can get to rise in consciousness and start to operate from that source rather than our ego.
I see. Wow. It sounds complicated to get to that point, though, isn't it?
It's I don't. It's not. It's this. I say this all the time. This is easy. This work. It really is easy. But is it easy to do? Not necessarily so. Is it easy to embody? No, because you're. And so it's really easy. I could teach this. I could teach you how to do that in 10 minutes. But where people need support and where people need is deeper understanding, and actually acknowledging that how we've been living isn't necessarily the truth. The work itself is so easy, but it's actually, putting it into practice.
Yeah, it's just having that awareness and
Absolutely.
probably just learning, and then just being consistent too, because if you just give up on whatever you're practicing, it never works. So with the science, which I saw you also talk about the science of getting rich, how does that work? What is it? Is there a science like a talking about, can you get like a formula and become rich if you follow that formula? You think that would work?
I first started manifesting. I became a consultant with Bob Proctor. So Bob Proctor, he passed away about 2 years ago now, but he was an absolute superstar when it comes to personal growth. And he studied the book, The Science of Getting Rich. And, we think that there is a formula, as you said, Sylvia, about getting rich. And a lot of people will try to get rich using the external. So they'll, if they're in a particular job, they'll maybe, look for a higher paying job, or they'll get what people call these days a side hustle. So we always look external to us to get rich, and we'll maybe look for investment opportunities or other opportunities around us so that we can increase our money to get wealth. Actually, wealth comes from internal first. I've studied a lot of Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, and Dr. Joe Dispenza would say, when you're trying to manipulate something that's already here, that's already so if you're trying to manipulate getting more money on the external world, by getting notes, for example, you're trying to change matter that's already formed, it's already here, it's matter, it's solid. And when you're trying to manipulate that, you're trying to manipulate to get more money. So it's like, all right, I'll sell my car, or I'll get more shifts at work. I'm going to do that. And you're trying to do the traditional way to get money, where you have to trade something to get money. Actually, the science of getting rich comes from within, because the other thing is that we have so many belief patterns around money that stops us from believing that we can actually have any more. So we find that most people have a glass ceiling. And that glass ceiling could be, I can only earn X amount a month. And it could just be of such, like 3 figures a month. Or that glass ceiling can be, I can only earn 6 figures a month. We all have different glass ceilings, but we all have them. But for you to get over that and to actually move beyond that glass ceiling, we can't manipulate what's already happened, what's already manifested. But if we start using our mind to think about what does wealth mean and start looking at our belief systems, I said to you just a few minutes ago that this is easy, this work is easy. And this is why it's easy. This is what I'm going to say to you now. Everything is all down to belief. Whatever you believe is what you'll get. So if you believe that that you can be a millionaire by tomorrow morning, and you can believe that and have absolute courage in that conviction, then you'll have it. So the way to get rich is to believe that you can be rich, is to believe that you can have that money. And then people are like, yeah, I believe it. I believe it. There's when you're like, well, you can't, because if you believed it,
Yeah. Like, do you really believe it? Yeah. And I love that you said about the having a ceiling. I can see that, and you see that in the family, like everywhere you go. Like, some people even get comfortable with that ceiling. They
Yeah.
are like, okay, I'm good where I am now. It's okay. The ones who don't, it's just I
Yeah.
reach that ceiling and I'm fine. And others just wants to go extra. No, I want more. And so you need to,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. But I think, I mean, I've worked with people, and their ceiling is very low, and then you've got 6-figure earners who just cannot break into 7 or 8 figures, and it's the same work. It's exactly the same work. Whether they're trying to break into a 4-figure month, day, whatever, or they're trying to get past that 8 figures, and it all comes down to having the belief that you're able, that you're worthy of having that.
Yeah.
So do you think it's because of that ceiling that people, have issue receiving money? Because this part is when you're trying to work, to make money on your own, but sometimes you're also afraid that the money is going to come to you, and we don't know why. Do you think it's because of that ceiling? We put the ceiling, to ourselves, and we're like, I don't deserve more than that. This is what I deserve.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think we put the ceiling there unconsciously. It's not there. Like, my ceiling, before I started all this, I was a human resource manager. And then, but after that, there was a period of time where I decided I wanted to become a dog groomer. So I left being a human resource manager, and I retrained to be a dog groomer, and I had my own studio in my back garden. I was extremely successful, but no matter what I'd done, no matter if I had a ceiling, and that ceiling, I was working long hours. I was trading time for money. So the only way for me to increase my income, was to work more. But I physically was exhausted. But I had a glass ceiling. And it doesn't matter. I had a glass ceiling when I was a human resource manager, and it was the same one when I was a dog groomer. So it was like, so that ceiling was something that I had to push past, but I had never earned any more than that. That was all I had ever earned in my life, and so I'd never experienced it, and I had to do the work internally for me to receive that money, for me to receive more money.
Okay, so the ceiling is off. It's broken.
Absolutely. But you know something, I'll always have that next ceiling, because I think, you'll always, when you want more,
Yes.
it's like, okay, now I have to go back and do the work again to say, okay, why, how can I receive more? So yeah, you're always smashing through the ceiling, but then we should always, be striving for more.
That's true.
Yeah. And then you have to deal with the lack, how do I say, lack of faith, or just like, because some people are just gonna think, I can't go further, like so you just stay there. And some people can also fear what's gonna happen if they have all that money too, right? So like those two
Absolutely.
feelings of just like, I'm not worth it, and the fear of, what if I have all this? How can I handle all that?
Yes, absolutely. You're so right there, because I think we've seen it before with people who win the lottery, where they have all the money, and then 2 years later they're like, oh gosh, I'm going to have to go and get a
Yes.
job again. They're not being able to physically hold that money. So it is that's what I'm saying. The work is really simple, but when it comes to manifesting, and this is my experience, like so much with me and with clients, it's not about learning anything externally. That's so easy. It's actually the work on yourself. You will become such a different person you won't recognize yourself. People won't recognize you, because to get more from life, it's not about doing anything external to you. It's about doing the work inside, internally, on your mind, and that for me is manifesting. You will never do like any sort of manifesting and work with a coach or anything and not work on yourself. It's all to do with self-love, self-worth, self-mastery, I think, is the word I want to use.
Yeah.
Self-mastery, yeah.
For sure. Because you've got to work on your mind, you've got to work on your emotions, you have to work on your thought patterns, you have to work on your belief patterns, and that involves going back into your past as well and thinking, well, what did my mum and dad teach me about money? Because that will have a huge impact. And we know that to be true, because people who were born into wealth, they don't understand when there's people going, I can't afford that, and
they don't. That is so true.
No, they don't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they don't understand because they've not experienced it. Where the majority of the world, or the majority of the population, with something like 96%, we have experienced, our mum and dads telling us, one thing that we always got told to us is money doesn't grow on trees.
Yeah. Yes.
And another thing that my parents would always say is, you can't have everything, Susan. You can't have it all. So you grow up thinking, right, okay, money doesn't grow on trees. So, so there isn't enough, so it's all these things, because how you interpret information as a child is very different to how you interpret information as an adult. So it is about self-mastery on so many levels.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, we're all about, in this show, we're all about, manifesting and thinking positively and believing we're going to get anything we want, anything we deserve. Yeah. I really love this conversation with you. I learned a lot about that breath work. I never heard about that before. It's really intriguing to me. I think I'm going to look it up, because absolutely. Yeah, it reminds me so much of like reading, and I know it's not hypnotism, but yeah.
I can send you something. I can send you like a
yes,
short.
Please.
Would you like that? I'll send you like a trial, just a short session, so that you can experience that. I can send you that, no problem.
Oh yeah, I would like to have that too. Yeah, it sounds so interesting.
Of course.
Yes, I'm scared though.
No, don't be scared.
I know she's so. I don't know. She gets.
I am
with those things. Yeah, and
you
I love it.
I'm scared. Somebody's gonna take over my body.
Oh.
See, that's we talked about fear here. You should not.
I know. Didn't even being, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Susan, thank you very much for the conversation. So where do people can find you if they want to contact you or take your classes?
So I hang out a lot on Facebook.
Okay.
I'm on Facebook a lot, but I'm on all social media. So you can get me. I've got a YouTube channel. So I'm having great fun with that. But I'm on all social media, and I always believe that you should always do what you love. Yeah.
So we make sure to add all your social media, on your information, your website on the show notes. And if people, want to contact you and have maybe a free trial, with the Breathwork.
Absolutely. Sure. Absolutely.
You can go there. All right. Well, thank you very much. Listeners, don't forget to subscribe to the show if you want to get all the new episodes, and to follow us also on Facebook. We have also a YouTube channel and Instagram. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Thank you, Susan.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in to High Vibes and a Mic. Until next time, keep learning, growing, and exploring. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.